Ladies and gentlemen, the Las Vegas Raiders got the victory against the Denver Broncos, and now the Raiders are actually #1 in the AFC West right here, right now. We're going to break down everything that happened in this game. The good, the bad, the ugly, but trust me, there was a lot of good. And this genius Josh McDaniels guy, he might actually have something brewing here. Remember to like and subscribe for more Raiders content. And I do want to say right off the bat, my 3 favorite players of the game in this matchup against the Denver Broncos: 1, Jimmy Garoppolo; 2, Jacoby Myers, who unfortunately got hurt. We'll go more on that in a second. And number 3, Jacorian Bennett, who did struggle with a penalty at times, but did clean it up in terms of some run defense and some good pass breakups. But right here, out of the tunnel, Raiders are celebrating this, walking out of the tunnel, having some fun. And you see Devontae Adams right there walking with Jimmy G behind him. And you also have Greg Van Roten, the guard. And these guys were so stoked to get the victory. It was a rough matchup, man. 17-16. They barely won by 1 point, but they somehow stuck together. They were able to finish it out. Even though there were some upsets, even though there were some down points, they still got the dub in a hostile environment. And man, it was getting loud there in Denver. But fortunately, Raider Nation was out there in Denver and they had so many fans. And I will not be surprised if we find out on TMZ, Twitter, and Instagram later that there were some fights, bro. I saw so many Raiders fans yelling stuff at Broncos fans at that game. Made me freaking pumped up. And Max Crosby is also pumped up. He was able to get a sack on Russell Wilson. 1-0. The Raiders right now are undefeated and #1 in the AFC West. And that is because the Chargers lost in the last minute to the Miami Dolphins. Justin Herbert was looking upset. Obviously, most of you guys watched on primetime the Chiefs falling to the Detroit Lions, and then we got the Broncos losing to the Raiders. So Jimmy Garoppolo able to lead his team to a victory despite the fact that it was ugly. It was a low-scoring game, but at the same time, the Raiders sit here at 1-0, and you got to take any kind of advantage when you're in a tough conference like the AFC, and the Raiders right now are completely on top. And I want to point this out. You guys know I've been critical of genius Josh McDaniels, and I think Josh McDaniels called a really great first quarter. We know a lot of coordinators, a lot of play callers, a lot of coaches. They have a script for the first quarter, and they have all the plays that they're going to do ahead of time. And the first quarter was amazing. In the first drive, the Raiders marched down the field, got that touchdown to Jacoby Myers. It looked nice and pretty. But after that, you saw the Raiders struggle. They didn't get a touchdown for a long time, even struggled in the red zone. And I feel like Josh McDaniels needs to step up his play calling on the offensive side of the football, especially in the second half. And Jimmy Garoppolo, he ran for the first down. That should do it, according to Vic Tafur. Obviously, we saw the game, and that was really the game-ending play. When Jimmy Garoppolo was able to scramble, he saw the open field. There was nobody there. He slid, and that was the first down that led to the Raiders melting down the clock and getting the victory. And if it wasn't for Jimmy Garoppolo not only making that kind of scrambled and unscripted play, but also there was a couple unscripted plays that I saw throughout the day, and I felt like Jimmy G really carried this offense, and if it wasn't for his efforts, maybe they don't get the victory. And Josh McDaniels, I think, really needs to step up the play calling in the second half, especially since they're facing the Buffalo Bills next week, and that's a tougher matchup than the Denver Broncos. And shout out to Vegas Sports Today, getting this footage of Josh Jacobs saying what's up and celebrating with Jimmy Garoppolo after the game. And Josh Jacobs did not have the prettiest game. I'm going to be completely real, man. The guy looked a little rusty, and also the offensive line really struggled in run blocking. There's a lot of times where I saw Jacobs having to break a tackle in the backfield, but Jimmy G was able to be efficient with the offense. He did not throw any deep balls, really. You know that's not his game, but he was efficient enough, able to move the chains, struggled in the red zone a little bit. And I kept on hearing about how he's going to be amazing in the red zone. We're going to go into those red zone struggles in just a little bit, but at the end of the day, I think he made the extra effort, made the extra plays, whether it be stepping up in the pocket, scrambling, doing some impromptu plays to help the Raiders move the chains. He did enough to get the victory, and he should be celebrated, because if it wasn't for that quarterback, I think the Raiders would have definitely struggled. And it was quite funny to see when Jimmy G did have some injury hangups. We know at certain points it was rough, dude. And Sean Payton, freaking bounty gate, dude. I would not be surprised if this guy was targeting players, man. We saw Jimmy G's foot get rolled up on a couple times, and he was in pain, and it made me worried about the guy. He was able to remain tough, finish out this game, and help get the dub for the Raiders. And look, man, the fans love this guy. I think he suits Vegas quite nicely. You see everybody cheering while he's rocking the shades and the blazer. And ultimately, even though he had those setbacks with his foot, even though all that went down, like we mentioned before, this game-sealing play to get the slide, get the freaking victory right there, still able to hang on and freaking handle the pain and finish out the game. And there were some highlights on the defensive side of the football. You had Max Crosby getting his hands on freaking Russell Wilson, getting the sacked. He was super stoked about that. Malcolm Kuntz doing the little headbutt there. Speaking of Kuntz, I think he did a decent job the majority of the time. The disappointing player on the defensive side of the football was definitely Tyree Wilson. Chandler Jones, even though he's going through all that crazy stuff, and I don't want to bring that up right now, Raiders definitely did need that guy, and I think the defense got lucky a couple of times, did struggle with penalties. We know Jacorian Bennett had a PI penalty that was a little questionable, 50-50. You could have called it either way. Jacorian Bennett, the rookie, was still starting on the outside and able to make some plays, especially in the run game. And the Broncos only scored 16 points. They did get 2 touchdowns and just missed a PAT. If Will Lutz, the kicker of the Broncos, would have made a PAT, this would have been a tie game and gone into overtime. And I am happy for the defense that they did have a good game, but at the end of the day, the Broncos did not have Jerry Jeudy. Tim Patrick is gone for the year, and so is KJ Hamler. The Broncos really did not have many wide receivers, and they were able to still move the football down the field against the Raiders. And that makes me concerned, because on the one hand, I want to say the defense got better, but I cannot honestly say that. When I'm seeing the Broncos move the ball down the field, not have all their players at 100%, plus it's Sean Payton, brand new head coach, first year with the team, with a quarterback who he's never coached before. I want to celebrate on the offensive side of the football. We'll get to the stats in a little bit, but at the same time, this offense struggled to be efficient in the red zone, and I kept on hearing about how it's going to be so much better with Jimmy G in the red zone, and Jimmy G was able to be kind of like the only bright spot of the offense besides Jacoby Myers most of the day. And in this, series here that we had 10-13 in the third quarter with 2:11 left, 3rd and goal right here, this play call is not too inspiring by genius Josh McDaniels, and there's nowhere to go for Jimmy G with the football. He has all day to throw. He's sitting there and he surveys the field and he tries to escape and tries to make something out of nothing, direct some traffic, and you see this blunder, man, this being a freaking pick in the red zone, bouncing off the hands of Amir Abdullah, and an easy interception for the Broncos. This could have been a critical turning point in the game. Luckily, the Denver Broncos were not able to capitalize on this that much. But at the same time, you saw Josh McDaniels and his offense in the red zone for a significant amount of time, not able to seal the deal and not able to punch it in, even though he has his guys and his quarterback, and it ended in a pick. And really, I want to bring all this up to say, hey, there were tons of mistakes in this game and they could have easily lost this game. And on top of that, there are some decisions by Josh McDaniels. On a 3rd and 7, Vic Tafur points this out. Josh McDaniels dials up a play that is short of the first down. It was a 6-yard pass. Jacoby Myers was short on it. And I understand that we got to go with the short passing game because we don't have a quarterback who's necessarily great with the deep ball. But at the same time, if you got 7 yards to go, you should dial up a pass that gets 7 yards. And it seems like for the majority of the time outside of the first quarter, it was a rough day overall for this offense. But I will say it was an efficient day for Jimmy Garoppolo. 20 of 26, 200 yards. Russell Wilson, 27 of 34. Missed about one more pass than the guy, but threw way more attempts and had way less yards per attempt. And Jimmy G was the only one who threw a pick because of that end zone pick, and nobody really had a long pass. Russell Wilson, I did think, aired it out a little bit. Jimmy Garoppolo was not sacked once, but he did take some QB hits. We saw that play earlier where he kind of almost got rolled up on the leg. But I think the big story here and the big concern if you're a Raiders fan right now is Josh Jacobs. 19 carries, way more than Javonte Williams, the starting running back of the Broncos, and he only came away with 2.5 yards a carry. This running game really needs to get going for this Raiders team to have an efficient offense this year. But I will say, man, one of the steals in free agency, and it's so sad that this guy went down in some helmet to helmet, almost a helmet to helmet, actually a shoulder to helmet hit, a nasty play. And we know that Sean Payton already has that BS from Bounty Gate. Who knows if he was trying to target some of our players like Jacoby Myers and Jimmy Garoppolo, but at the same time, Jacoby Myers got whacked, man. He ended up getting sent out of the game, and I'm not sure about his status. He looked like he was concussed. It looked nasty. Devontae Adams looked worried, and I feel bad for the guy because he was having such a great game. 10 targets, 9 receptions, 81 yards, more yards than Devontae, 2 touchdowns. Jacoby Myers was looking like a freaking monster, and you could see a connection that Jimmy Garoppolo had with Jacoby Myers. Like, whenever they needed a big first down, he was going to Jacoby Myers, and it worked out every single time. And it was really sad to see him go down down like that. Hopefully he'll be ready to go in a few weeks. He was able to get up under his own power, and I'm really happy that he was able to do that. It makes me sketched out about Sean Payton and the Broncos, man, where they're trying to put some licks on us because they knew this game was over, where they're trying to hurt this team. We know Bounty Gate has happened with this coach before. The NFL should be concerned if they really care about the rules. But at the same time, I'm not completely sold on this Raiders defense, man. I think they're giving up some big plays in the passing game to some of these Denver Broncos receivers, and it's not like we had the best receivers in the world going up against the Raiders. Lil Jordan Humphrey going for 2 for 2, getting a touchdown. You saw Cortland Sutton get a touchdown as well for the Denver Broncos. And it just makes me worried because this was a one-possession game, and I wonder if the Denver Broncos had their full healthy receiving core, would the outcome be different? I do think Divine Diablo had a monster game. There were several tackles he made. One monster tackle he made got called back because of a face mask, but Divine Diablo looks like a much better player. We were concerned about the linebacker room for the Raiders, but I think they have the right guys there between Robert Spillane and Divine Diablo. Luke Masterson, though, did mess up on special teams, running into the kicker, which gave the Broncos a first down. But I think overall the defense is better than they were last year, especially the secondary. The question is how much better, and I think next week against the Buffalo Bills will be the real test. And one thing that was good to see was genius Josh McDaniels trying to make a connection with some of his players there, talking to Josh Jacobs after the game. Josh Jacobs looking at him a little seriously there. Hopefully it's a lot of positive words being said between genius Josh McDaniels and Josh Jacobs. But we're really going to need more production. Out of the running game. And ultimately, man, the Raiders got a freaking victory. They're number 1 in the AFC West. Josh McDaniels should celebrate. Jimmy Garoppolo should celebrate. The whole defense should celebrate. And Raider Nation, the fans, should celebrate, because honestly, we did not expect this. We did not expect the Raiders to come in here and get the victory. We did not expect them to go ahead and be number 1 in the AFC West. Personally, I had them beating Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos because of a banged up receiving core, brand new coach with a brand new team. I thought the Raiders should have the upper hand, but with the Chandler Jones situation in the background, it made it seem like, man, is this just going to be a sticky year for the Raiders? Is there too much drama in the background where it's going to overpower all the work they've done during training camp? And Josh McDaniels kept his team together, and you got to give him credit for that. And I think for the Raiders going into this next week, hopefully the play calling could step up in the second half. Almost blew it again, yet again. We saw that episode last year, and hopefully the run game could start getting more established. And Jacoby Myers, we hope that guy is healthy, man. That was a rough hit that he had against the Denver Broncos. And if these things happen, and another thing, man, I know the Chandler Jones situation is weird, but I really think they need that guy back. Without him, Tyree Wilson does not seem like he's healthy. He does not seem like he's at 100%. And Malcolm Kuntz did look decent in spurts, but I don't think he's up to the par as Chandler Jones. And if all these things happen, I think the Raiders have a good situation going for them where they could defeat the Buffalo Bills this upcoming week. It's going to be a Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific time game. We will be live during that game against the Buffalo Bills. And look, I know it's not rational to think that freaking genius Josh is going to go into Buffalo and beat the Bills, but I hope to the freaking heavens it happens, and I hope the Raiders have a good year this year. And even though it was a sloppy game, a nasty game, at the end of the day, they got the dub. That's all that matters, and maybe we can have another nasty game again against the Bills this time. We'll be live during that game on Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific time on this channel, so make sure you set your reminders for that. My name is WiFiWillie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.